Welcome to the HellBound Horror Show. Even though the year 1981 is most associated with slasher films, there were a few paranormal and ghost films released that year. One of the most famous and most notable is Ghost Story. Peter Straub should be a name that horror fans recognize, especially for those who love to read horror literature. I don't like to read myself, and even I know who Peter Straub is. He's one of the most prolific horror authors of our time. Now, I'm not saying that he's as acclaimed as Stephen King or even Clive Barker, but I do think that Peter Straub is a very solid B-tier horror author. When Straub first started writing, his books were met with mixed success. It wasn't until his fifth novel, Ghost Story, in 1979, where he gained critical acclaim. Ghost Story became a national bestseller, so you know that someone wanted to adapt it into a movie. And adapt it into a movie they did. The screenplay was written by Lawrence D. Cohen, who is notable for adapting some of Stephen King's work to the screen, such as Carrie and the TV version of it. Ghost Story was released in 1981, and it stars the aging Fred Astaire, who was a prolific dancer and singer in early Hollywood. The film also stars Craig Wasson, who you may know from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. The title Ghost Story is spot on because the film revolves around a group of old men who sit around a fire and just tell ghost stories. It reminds me of Are You Afraid of the Dark, but instead of having a really cool name like the Midnight Society, these old men decide to call themselves the Chowder Society.
I propose a toast to us, Chowder Society.
Chowder Society.
The Chowder Society.
Chowder Society.
The Chowder Society.
Chowder, it's Chowder. Say it right.
I get it that they're from this New England town, but clearly there could have been a better name for a ghost storytelling group, right? The plot kicks off with one of the sons from the Chowder Society seeing this attractive girl in his bed. Clearly she's not supposed to be there, and when he sees her face, it shocks him so bad that he falls out the window to his death. There are so many jokes to be made here, so let's go rapid fire mode.
Seeing your woman's face first thing in the morning without wearing makeup. Am I right?
Or how about the low-hanging fruit? Or maybe it's not so low-hanging. Must have been cold in his apartment. Or we could just talk about the composition of the shot. For some reason, and I don't know why, every time I look at it, it just makes me laugh. Oh, with those terrible jokes out of the way, let's go back to the sophistication this channel's known for. The next part of the story revolves around the brother of the dude who just fell out of the window, and he's played by the same actor. I really hate when movies cast the same person to play siblings. What is this, Blood Rage?
That isn't cranberry sauce, Artie. That is not cranberry sauce.
The brother, Don, returns to his childhood home, and one by one, the Chowder Society gets picked off by a ghostly female figure. The film has a ton of flashbacks as Don tries to unravel the mystery of what happened in the past with the members of the Chowder Society and why they're being picked off one by one. The story is a pretty traditional ghost story that goes through the typical twists and turns, but it's those small touches that really set this film apart from the rest. It's a slow, smoldering film that has very short bursts of horror littered throughout. It's a talkative film, and it focuses heavily on the plot and story. There are riddles throughout the film that deliberately make you want to find out the mystery. It's a good payoff and totally worth the trip. There are some funny moments, such as Fred Astaire talking about sidewalks.
I was just thinking, sidewalks have changed the world. One of my earliest recollections is, Mr. Hawthorne, Call me Ricky, everybody does. Getting back to Sidewalks.
But there are also tense and unnerving scenes with actress Alice Craig. She has a wonderful performance that is foreboding and terrifying. Her character reminds me a lot of Isabelle Adjani's character in 1981's Possession, except, not as crazy and over the top. They just give off similar vibes. So basically, they're crazy. I also want to touch on the practical effects. They are downright amazing. Except the only problem is we don't get to see a lot of them. It's always just a few frames, which is a huge missed opportunity. This stuff is so good, you'll just want to see it over and over again. All in all, this is a very well constructed film, and it's totally worth the watch. It's a bit bland outside of its special effects, but it's well made and it doesn't make too many mistakes. The film takes itself very seriously and at times feels uninspired. Personally, I think it's a pretty middle-of-the-road horror film. Some people will really love this movie, and I can understand why they would. I see the merits, but everyone's gonna have a different opinion, and unfortunately, I wasn't blown away with Ghost Story. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe, and take care, everyone.